Hello, Mark Sargent again, and now take a look at the different subtools that we are using and how to manage your models within Zbrush. So right now, the lightbox is open up. The hotkey is comma to opening and closing this lightbox. And please take a look at the demo soldier. Now I'm double tapping on it, and it is loaded instantly. And because it is a project file, right at the beginning, instantly I'm switched to the edit mode so I can rotate it around, and as you see we have quite some content to deal with. So first of all, as you see we have this palette, and the indicator shows the recent active model, and there is a number at the top right corner, and that number indicates the number of the subtools, the subparts that's within the model. So it's a kind of a group, it's kind of a set of the models. And as you see, we have the demo soldier as a body, we have a shirt, and we have a vest. Now, if I'm switching between these various tools, the actually selected tool is highlighted, and it will receive a kind of a lighter gray pack. Now, don't forget, we already know that we have a special key, Shift F, to turn on the polygon frame. And as you see, we have two polygroups here mixing up. Oh, it's quite nasty. But we can check the mesh. Now, this is a polygon mesh, and I can sculpt on it. So if I want to change it, so I can just start moving on and sculpt, and that's nice. Okay, so this is how it works. If I want to edit later on, I can do it simply by selecting it again. Now I'm switching to a different tool. So whenever you're clicking on something, that way you can switch between the tools here. Now if you're holding down Alt key and tapping in the screen, tapping on a model, then you can also switch between the various tools. Now it is one of the fastest solutions. Sometimes if you have something like teeth, it's pretty hard to select this way, but if it's visible, it's quite easy to point and highlight and holding down Alt key and tap on the model that you want to select. Another option, if you're pressing N, it will show the details, it will show actually the subtool list, and a little bit larger preview will be presented, and also the text is readable. So if you have proper naming, which one is highly advised, then it's quite easy to select the model you want to work with. Now, before we actually starting on discussing how sculpting and how brush settings are working, it is quite useful if you just check how this overall subtool management is working. For example, if you want to work only on one subtool, but you don't want to hide away all the other things, so can you see those eyes? You can turn off these eyes and turn them on and off one by one. That's one option. Or you can hit simply solo. So when you hit solo, your selected model will be isolated, so you can work on and change whatever you want. And if you switch to a different model, so I'm pressing N and switch to the body, now the body will appear, and solo mode is still active, and everything else is just hidden. Okay, so you can also click the gloves here, press F to zoom in for the figure. Actually, it zooms in at the beginning, it zooms into the entire figure, but when I'm pressing it again, it will zoom into the glove itself. So this is solo mode. If you want to use kind of blend between the two, so you want to use the eyes but don't want to use the solo mode for whatever reason, then you can hold down the shift key and clicking on the eyeball, and everything else will disappear, including, so that means all of the eyes will be turned off. Now it's not solo mode. Okay, solo mode is not turning off the eyeballs. It's not turning off visibility. It is just isolating your model. Okay, so it's a little bit different. You have to keep in mind. This one is a fast way if you want to turn off everything and turn back on a couple items. Okay, so this is why it's quite a handy thing. Now, please note, your selected model will be visible. So if you select the glove and you want to switch, for example, at the belt, and the belt has no eyeball visibility turned on, but whenever you are clicking on a belt, it will be visible instantly because that is your selected model. If you use these buttons, you can walk up in a selection. If you are using the curved arrows, then it will just move up and down your model in the hierarchy list. We have a tiny button here so we can scroll down the different models. And of course, if we are using the shift key and pressing this button arrow, it will return everything to the back end. The selected model, it would turn the selected model to the end of the list. Okay, so holding down shift, vest is selected, holding down shift, and I'm clicking on the curved arrow, and it will get it back to the top. Okay, and now let me turn on visibility for everything. This is the model, and we already know that we have subtools. We can select those subtools, and I don't want to collapse now. We also have a couple other interesting options. Now, take a look at right below the solo. We have expose. The hotkey is Shift X to expose, and okay, this is quite a large one. So because of the pivot points, we have each model has a pivot point, and because this is a quite it's a complete figure, it is quite it's spread apart heavily. But expose is very good to reveal tiny details. Okay, so tiny parts. I'm pressing Shift X to get it back, and pressing F to zoom in. So that is expose. Now, what is this transparency stuff can offer? So, if you have a model, you want to work, for example, you want to work on a body. So I'm alt tapping on a body, and I want to edit that one. But I want to see how the chest is going on under the shirt and the vest and everything. So I'm clicking transparency, and transparency will make it see through to every other. So every other model is transparent now, and I can work on the chest. So if I want to change the structure for whatever reason, I can do that. But transparency is turning on something else too. By default, it will automatically turning on ghosting. When you're using Z-spheres, that might be a good thing to know, because there's a chance you want to turn it off for some cases. But right now, just let me show what's the difference. So ghosting will be a little bit less intensive, so there's no X-ray kind of effect. Okay, so there's no Fresnel effect is just a little bit hidden, so this not looks like a an X-ray element. Okay, sometimes this one's better. Choose what you prefer, but by default, transparency automatically turns on ghosting. Okay, so that's it for the subtools and other things. A couple at this area that we are using heavily is the duplicate. So whenever you make some drastical change, you can duplicate your model, and it will automatically add a number to your copy. And if you want to rename it, you have to select the model and click on rename, and rename as you wish. So it will be body in my case, and I will turn off the visibility of the original one, so I have no overlap now. And I can also delete my model if I'm asked. If I select one and hit on delete, it will always ask, do you want to abort it, or please pay attention to the changes you make. So I will press OK, deleted now, and we have another couple tools that we want to look for. Now, it's a common question that, alright, so we have this set of subtools, but what happens if I want to add some kind of a new model? So if I want to add a nose for this guy, then I want to create a new model within my subtools, and the append and insert are built for this. Now append, let me click append, sphere 3D, and let me take a look. Where is the sphere 3D? Sphere 3D is created at the end of my subtool list, because append will always drop this model to the end. Now, if I don't want to use this one, I can just delete. Oh, sorry, I have to switch first. Select the model, delete. I don't want it. I want to go back, and right below the body, I want to add my new sphere. Not at the end of the line. I want to add it right below the body. So this way, if I'm choosing insert and sphere 3D, now the sphere 3D is right below the body. I'm pressing F just to zoom in, and here we go. This is the sphere that I've created. Okay, now we already know what to do because sphere is selected, and if we switch to move mode, now we can drag it, modify, and adjust it as needed. So right now it's that center. I think because it's just a clown nose, I want to make a couple of changes, scale it down and move it up, and here we go. Yeah, and leaving transparency, so we have this clown nose. And when we are done with the transformation, we can press Q to go back to the draw mode. Okay, we are not leaving edit mode. What happens if you leave edit mode? You have to re-enter again. Now, before we are moving on to the next part, just let me show something that happens many times. So if you press Shift F, the wireframe will pop up. Now, if you press Shift S, this is what happens. So we have a snapshot of the original model, and our actual editable 3D model is rotating around as it's kind of an overlapping weird structure, because Shift S is creating a snapshot of the existing model. Now what to do in this case? First of all, you want to exit edit mode, pressing T, Ctrl N, clear the canvas. Now take a look at here. We have this subtool active. There's no model here on the screen, but we have this subtool active. So when you start dragging it out, instead of making anything change, you don't want to drag something again, hit T instantly to return to edit mode, and press F. Okay, now we are zooming in, and this is what we have. Another important feature, when you start rotating around your model, because it is a one view setup, you might want to fit this model into a front view or left or whatever, top for example. And to do that, you can hold down Shift or tap Shift during your movements. So start rotating my model, and when I'm close to a side view, I will hold down Shift and it will snap. I'll start rotating again, and when I'm close to my view, I'm holding down Shift and it will snap, and then I release the Shift and the pen again. So whenever you want to align your model into kind of an orthographic position, then you are using the Shift key, and it's quite handy and it's quite easy to use. Now as you see, our soldier is in perspective and he is standing on a floor. Now this floor by default is turned off, but the project setting, the original demo soldier ZPR project file, had the information to turn back on this perspective grid. So if you press Shift P, this grid is disappearing. There is only one grid at the moment, because if you take a look at the floor, this is Shift P, this is the floor, there is a Y indicator, and by default this was turned on. But if you want another grid at the back side, you can turn on X, and if you want it at the back, you can turn on Z. So actually it is a combined button, just like a polyframe. So you have a button, and within the button you have three other options you can turn on and off. Another thing to notice, so when you look at the bottom of the figure, okay, I don't know if it's visible, but we have three coordinates, and this coordinate, we're looking for this blue one. Let me turn on magnifier, Shift M to turn on magnifier. So we have the green one, that's the standing, the upright vector. We have the X one, this is the side, so this is X, left and right. Usually your red vector shows the right side of the figure, so that's the right side, and Z-axis always points towards you, so that is the front view. So when you are creating a new model, you have to pay attention on the orientation of these axes. So this way you can make sure that your model is really facing to you. Right now, because Z is pointing towards me, that means this is actually the visual and technical front view of my model. Let me turn back off the magnifier. And another thing, if you're just hitting P, it will turn off perspective and turn it back on. So basically this is about managing subtools, renaming, duplicating them. We can even copy and paste them, and as you see, it's quite simple to manage a model with the subtools. So see you next time. Thank you.